Good morning, dear students, and Assalamu alaikum. I hope you all are well and fine and good. I welcome you back to the class. In this class, we would learn some of the new things in science, and we shall continue our last lecture. So, what chapter we started? Let's continue. So, in the last class, we have started our new chapter, and the name of the chapter is How We Move. You know that it's our chapter number 3 and it is on page number 20. In this chapter, we are going to learn two types of things. As you can observe in this picture, that skeleton and muscles. In our chapter How We Move, we are going to learn about muscles and skeleton. Here we are talking about how we move. It means the muscles or bones which we are going to discuss, that would be human muscles and human bones. In the last class, we have almost done our skeletal system, but one main part is remaining, and that is the joint. In the last class, we have learned the skull, the spine, the ribs, the limbs, and joints are remaining, which we will learn in this class. Then we will go towards muscular system of human beings. So, if we talk about the joints, it is very simple that the point where two bones meet is called a joint. For example, we know that we are having 206 bones, and these 206 bones are attached with each other, and the point where two bones meet, that is the joint. Okay, there are many kinds of joints in our body, from which we would learn four of these kinds, because these are included in your book: hinge joint, pivot joint, sliding joint, and ball and socket joint. One example I have given here: hinge joint. The best example is knee and elbow. Pivot joint, skull to spine, that the skull is attached to the spine, so that is the pivot joint. Sliding joint, a wrist and ankles are there. Ball and socket joint, that is the shoulder and hip bones. Okay, so we are going to learn about them. So what is a joint? Joint occur wherever two bones meet. They are strong enough to withstand jerks, and there are several joints in our body. As we know, different joint will allow different types of movement. That is why we have divided them into four different types. Okay, now we are going to learn them one by one. So dear students, one by one we are going to learn each joint. In this slide we would learn first two joints, and on the other slide we would learn rest of the two joints. So hinge joint and pivot joint we are going to learn here. What is hinge joint first? These are the joints, and they can move only up, down, or backwards or forward like door hinge. It means hinge joint is a joint that allows the movement in upward and downward, backwards and forward direction like door. And the best example we are having here is knees and elbow. Here we can observe that how hinge joint is working. Okay, like this is the knee, this is the elbow. How do we move them? We can move them up and down and forward and backward. These are the bones, and here you can see that how the laptop screen is turning around, okay, and how the door turns around. This is how the hinge joint works. If we talk about the pivot joint, on the other hand, it allows to rotate the head and to move it upwards and downwards. So rotation is only possible when we talk about the rotation. So with the rotation we can move upwards and downwards with the help of pivot joint. So what kind of example we are going to have? The skull. The skull is connected to top of the vertebra in the spine. Okay, look at here. This is our these are our vertebrae. or the spine, the backbone, we know that the top of the vertebrae is joined to the skull. And the joint of skull bones and the first or top vertebrae is the pivot joint. And this is a kind of joint which allows the movement, like rotation plus upward and downward. The same it is doing. Okay. So here are rest of the two joints from our book, and that is sliding joint and ball and socket joint. First we are going to learn about sliding joint. What are these joints and what kind of movement do they allow? So it allows you to move your hand or foot from side to side as well as backwards and forwards. For example, wrist and ankle. How? You can see that here are the ankle bones and we can move our foot side to side and backward and forward like this. It means these bones are sliding over each other. And these kind of joint provides the sliding movement and they are called a sliding joint. On the other hand, if we talk about ball and socket joint, so it allows the movement in all the direction. So if I ask you that which joint allows the maximum movement or the movement in all the directions, so the answer should be ball and socket joint. Okay, and the examples are shoulder and hip. Hip and shoulders are joined with the bones with a joint called ball and socket joint, and they allow the maximum movement. Okay, so one of the bones ends in a hole, as you can observe here that this is a one bone, this is another bone, this is a ball like structure, and this girdle has socket like structure. It is like ball in the socket, and so we can move it in all the direction. This is a hip joint. On the other hand, we can take the example of shoulder joint as well. See, this is ball like structure and this is socket like structure. This is how we can move our arm in all the direction with the help of this shoulder bone. So this is the ball and socket joint that allows the maximum movement. Up till here, we have completed the first segment of our chapter, that was skeletal system. Now the next one is muscular system. This is how the muscles of human body look like, and here are the points. Do you know about half of our body weight is that of our muscles? It means muscles make up half of our body weight. They are made up of bundles of fibers, as you can observe here in this picture or diagram that muscles are made up of bundle of fibers, so they look like fibers. Okay, as you can observe here. We have around 650 muscles. We have around 650 muscles in many books. In many books you will see that you will find the number of muscles as 600. In many of the books you can find it as 620. Okay, so here we have written we have around 650 muscles. Do you know muscles work by pulling a bone? Okay, bones and muscles, they work together to make the movement possible. So how do muscles move or work? Muscles work by pulling a bone. They cannot push the bone, they can only pull the bone. And at least two muscles are needed to move a joint. We know that movement is only possible when joints are there, and to move a single joint at least two muscles should be utilized. One important thing is that muscles are attached to the bones by strong fibers called tendons. Okay, our muscles and bones, they are attached with each other, but they are not directly attached with each other. They are attached by strong fibers, and these strong fibers are called tendons. What are these? Let's discuss them further. Look at here. These are the muscles and this is a bone. Now you can observe here something white. This white portion is indicating the strong fibers, that is tendon. Here you can also observe it. These are the muscles. This is a bone, but they are not directly attached with the bones. They are attached by strong fibers, and these strong fibers are the tendons. As we have discussed earlier that at least two muscles are needed to move a joint. So here is an example, and that is the example of biceps and triceps muscles. What are these? Here you can observe the biceps which joins the arm in front. For example, this is on the upper side, so that is the biceps, and our triceps which are at the back. Okay, so when we move when we move our joint, so these both are working together. So from here we came to know that at least two muscles are required or needed to move a joint, okay, as they both are working together. Movement of the body requires many muscles to work together. This is a single movement, and we walk, we run, we talk, we smile, we laugh, we move our limbs, we go from one place to another at a time. Many of the muscles work together to make the body movement possible. So here we are going to learn about the types of muscles. Do you know how many types of muscles are there? There are three types of muscles, and the names are voluntary muscles, involuntary muscles, and cardiac muscles. Voluntary, involuntary, and cardiac muscles. Now we are going to learn them one by one. So the type number one is voluntary muscles. The muscles which are under our control are called voluntary muscles. Okay, those muscles which can work under our control, so they are voluntary muscles. They are called as skeletal muscles as well. Why? Because voluntary muscles are always attached with our bones, and we can move our bones with the help of joint. So the muscles which are attached to the bones are the skeletal muscles or the voluntary muscles. As we can move the bone, okay, so it means those muscles which are under our control, like our muscles of our limbs, either we are talking about forelimbs or hands, or we are talking about hind limbs or legs. Okay, so they are the skeletal muscles, and they are under our control. We can move them when we want. But when we talk about involuntary muscles are those muscles which are not under our control. So they are called as involuntary muscles. So they are also known as smooth muscles. Why? Because first of all, we are going to see that the muscles which are not under our control, for example, the movement of the lungs, can we control the movement of the lungs? No. And they are called smooth muscles because they are not attached with the bones. As we were talking about voluntary muscles, so they were called as skeletal muscles as well because they were attached to the bones. If we talk about the involuntary muscles, they are smooth. They are not attached with the bones, so they are called as smooth muscles as well. Here you can see this is our stomach. We know that our stomach moves for the digestion. Okay, there is a contraction and relaxation to digest the food. So this movement is not controlled by our own. Okay, here you can also observe when we eat the food, it goes down in the stomach, then intestine. We do not control these movement. So these kind of movement or muscles, these kind of muscles are called involuntary muscles because they are not under our control. They work by their own. So here comes the last type of muscles, and that is cardiac muscles. Whenever you see the word cardiac, that indicates heart. For example, cardiologist is the doctor, the one who is heart specialist. Here are the points. The muscles of heart are called cardiac muscles. They cause the heart to pump blood all over the body. For example, we know that our heart has heartbeat or it contracts. Okay, by this contraction it pumps the blood and it sends the blood all over our body. They work throughout the life without stopping or without getting tired. We know that our heart is in our thoracic cavity, okay, and it pumps the blood, and due to the heart, blood goes down to our body and move all around our body because it is pumping organ of our body, the heart. So the heart is made up of the muscles, and these muscles are called as cardiac muscles. And the cardiac muscles are those muscles which will work until we die. These kind of muscles do not get tired, they work without stopping. Okay, so here we have completed our chapter. We have learned about skeletal system and muscular system in this chapter. Okay, this, I hope you have got it, you have understood it very well. So thank you so much. We are going to end up this chapter. Inshallah, from next class we will start a new chapter. Thank you so much. Goodbye.